Thank you so much for agreeing to talk to me, Chandu. So, firstly, your story. Where did you grow up? To how did Chandu.org happen, right? And I saw that you've been featured on Chris Guillebeau's $100 startup book as well. So, just the story across all these sort of landmarks.
Uh, First, thanks for having me here.
Sure.
And I'll tell you in a very brief fashion, I was born in a coastal town called Machilipatnam in India.
Uh-huh.
And I grew up pretty much like any other middle class child in India. Did studies in few places. Then I think around eighth or ninth class when I felt that I should really learn computers because I read a story somewhere about Bill Gates, I believe, and it was one of the moments in my childhood when I realized that I want to be like this guy. I mean, work in technology, work with computers. So that kind of whenever I had to make a career choice, like go for diploma course or undergrad, I always picked computers because that's what I wanted to do, and I think that was one of the turning points because that kind of set me into the technology path than anything else. And then after the studies, I worked for 1 year as a programmer, but in my heart, I knew that probably one day I would like to start a business. So I thought maybe let me go for an MBA degree so that I can pick up more business concepts like marketing, HR, and finance, and all those things. So that's what I did. I went for an MBA program at one of the institutes in India. And after the MBA course, I think by the time you finish your graduation and there are just too many things going on. For example, you have peer pressure, you have family members and everybody looking up to you, and you have a lot of responsibilities to take care, especially with unlike in Western countries where once you start your studies, you're on your own, and whatever you do is up to you. Whereas the mentality in India is very much like you will look after your family and everybody. So there is a lot of things, and so I couldn't really take the leap and get into my own venture right after MBA, which is one of the things that I wanted to do, but I never had that courage because it felt like such a huge thing. So I went and joined one of the largest companies in India, Tata Consultancy Services as an analyst. And I worked there for about 3 years. But during this time, Chandu.org happened. In fact, I started that as a personal site when I was doing my MBA.
Okay.
But I was just posting some personal stories and my life experiences as an MBA student and what I'm learning and how I feel about the program there. So when I joined TCS, I continued that thing, but shared more about my job and technology and what I'm observing and all that. None of this is useful for anybody. It is more of a personal blog, and my friends and family members could follow it.
Yeah.
Then around 2009, I was sent on an assignment to US, and that's when I really started writing about Excel because Excel and PowerPoint were two things that I was using all the time, and I thought, instead of sharing personal stories and observations, why not write about something that I enjoy? So I started writing about these things, and that's how the main turn happened because once I started writing something that I am using and that other people can also use, suddenly more and more people started visiting the site. And I realized that this is a very good thing because this information is useful for others. And it is useful for me because my career as an analyst involves using a lot of these tools. So I continued that, and throughout 2008, 9, and 10, I was doing this for a majority of time. In between, I got married and I became a dad, and all those things also happened.
Yeah.
And then 2010, I thought, this is looking very, very promising. Maybe I should quit my job and focus on this full time. So I quit my job. I moved back to India. I started Chandu.org as a full time venture. It's been 3 years, and it has been really wonderful experience.
Okay.
Are there any specific things that you would like to know? Because there are so many things, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
Keep
No,
on.
I have a couple of questions here, so I guess we'll just talk it through and then we'll see, where we get. So I think my sort of another big question was, the whole Malcolm Gladwell popularized theory of 10,000 hours that go into anything before you become a specialist there. So I guess you got your 10,000 hours of Excel at some point, right? What's the story behind that? So throughout your career, were you very sort of Excel pro, or what's, yeah.
Uh, yeah, it is not really like I had all this knowledge when I started working. It was more like when I started working with TCS as an analyst. Obviously, you can also see that
Yeah.
you're not really doing any programming or those kind of work. So you would be doing building models using Excel and communicating with clients using PowerPoint or preparing documents. So this is pretty much what you are doing. So I had to use these tools, and I realized that in order to succeed in this career, you need to have very good knowledge about these tools. Otherwise, you would make lousy presentations, and your workbooks or models would not look good, and your bosses or clients won't be happy. So I started actually learning these things, and I thought one of the easiest ways to learn is to actually learn something and then tell others. That way,
Yeah.
you would remember it
Yeah.
longer, and you are also sharing. So if there is a mistake in your what you are learning, the other person can correct you. And I had very few colleagues where I was working then. So I thought, why not put it on the blog? So let us see what happens. And suddenly I realized that I do very little, and there are just thousands and hundreds of people throughout the world who would come back and share comments saying, "Hey, Chendu, you can also do it like this," or "Hey, this was useful. Can you tell me how to do that?" So this is how I started learning. So part of the learning came from job, but more from seeing what people wanted and learning from them, and then giving it back. So that's how the whole probably the 10,000 hours thing happened.
Okay.
It was more of a, and today I firmly believe in order to learn better, you have to take. Only when you tell others how to do, then you can learn better.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you say is the inspiration behind this? So what is that one thing, or maybe a couple of things that drives you to do this every day?
The main, please go ahead.
Sorry.
Is that all?
Yeah. No. That's it. That's it.
Okay. Um, yeah. The main inspiration for me has been there are actually several things because not like there's only one set of one
Yeah.
idea or one inspiration. It's just that I observe a lot of people who are doing what I do in various fields, and I take inspiration from them. And also believe that just for learning or explanation, if you just explain, let's say, features itself, then there is only so much I can do. But if I explain the stories of people, if I explain how you like this for a particular job or situation,
Uh, Move it from online to something else. So
use for them and become awesome. So as long as possible, I want to continue doing this, and there is a lot of organic growth happening. Even though we don't do any advertising or any of that, every year we are seeing more and more people tuning into our website and learning from us. So that's a good thing, and that's not something that I can control or anything. It will happen, and I'm sure
yeah.
in the next 4 or 5 years, our site will multiply and grow, and it will prompt me to do things. Yeah. And I like travel, planning to do live classes every year in a couple of countries. I was in Singapore 2 years back. This year I'm planning to go to US. So like that, I'm planning to visit more places, meet more leaders face to face, and hear from them, learn from students. So continue this. So I would like to do this for, I don't know how much of time it is here.
Okay. What about the demographics of your users? So what sort of insights do you have? You looked at that, and who are these people who are sort of coming to?
Majority of our visitors are 25 to 35 years of age, and they are from all parts of the world, but a majority of users live in the United States, and and UK, India, and Australia.
Okay.
Then these are actually people who have just gotten into their careers as analysts or managers, or who have been working for a while and who use Excel a lot. Obviously, that means they are in positions like finance or marketing, customer service, and they are working as a manager level or professionals in reporting, finance domain, the accountants. Very passionate about learning these things, so they spend their time and money investing in these kind of tools.
Okay. But so I saw a lot of sort of marketing oriented posts on your blog. So what is your take on just marketing an online venture like yours, or so what is the understanding that you can share with us there?
I personally believe that if you are running a business, then you should do it just like a retail store or anybody else would do. So for that, from that point, I would say, as a startup, anybody, not just me, should always have that businessman hat and then say that how do we get money into this business? Right? Because you are doing this so that you could live a good life and probably provide some employment or derive some profits, whatever could be the reason, or be happy. And if you're not running for a non-profit or something, then obviously profit should be the first thing that you should put in place. So, and when you're running a business, the important thing is to have customers. How do you get customers? If you are running a website, then you should encourage them to become a part of your website too by inviting them to join your newsletter or subscribing or something like that, so that they can tune into you, and then you could communicate with them about new products or ideas that you have, so that they can purchase them. This also means it's not just collecting customers, but obviously you have to provide value to them, otherwise they will leave you. So it's a game where you have to first get the customers and then provide them valuable products. Like they are paying $100, they should probably get 200, 300 out of it. Only then they see a good deal out of this, and then they tune into you. They would spread your good word of mouth about your products to others in their office or friends. So that's how it works. And obviously, there is nothing wrong in putting profit in the first place. So, even before I quit my job, I started selling a couple of products, and I wanted to make sure that instead of driving this website purely through advertising or something like that, I always wanted to do this so that people would buy what we are selling as a product on our site and help us run this business.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I saw that majority of your sort of financial model runs on the products that you're selling, right? I think before I looked into it, I thought that maybe the classes or sort of workshops that you were conducting would be a big part of it as well, but that seemed like relatively a smaller portion as compared to the products, right? I guess they're more easily available to your users, seeing that they spread all over the world.
Exactly. They are all delivered online, so anybody, no matter where they are, can access them. And they can access them from at any time, n number of times. If they don't understand, they can repeat the product, understand it better. They can ask questions. All of this can be done while I'm sitting in India and help them.
Exactly.
Whereas if I go into a live class, it blocks X number of hours for me. And then there is a travel. If I go to Singapore, it will probably take half a day away from me. So all of these are constraints. So selling an online product is really a no-brainer.
Yeah, okay. I think I'm going to sort of move on to a different section. So I saw that you believe and you practice a lot of very simple and frugal living. But I really adore that. So what is your philosophy behind that, or how did that sort of side of you shape?
I think it's probably how I was brought up as a kid, and even my wife had similar, very simple background. So it was just that both of us had the same ideas about money. That is, if you're bringing 100 rupees into family, then you should not spend all of that. You should probably put aside some of it, and you should just live below your means. So this is how we grew up. Our parents had taught us value of money, and I think both of us had very hardships when we were growing up. So we knew that having money requires a lot of work from everybody, and you should not splurge it. So naturally, when we both got jobs and when we started working, and suddenly you are making so much more money than your parents ever did,
Yeah.
there is always a tendency to say, "Hey, let's go and purchase this. Let's go and do that." But thankfully, we never did that, and we really enjoyed that process. And then once we built some considerable amount of wealth, even then it never felt like we should go and waste money. So even today we believe the same idea that you should just always spend a fraction of what you're making and then try to put it back so that maybe you can give it back to society one day, or you can do something else. Or it's just a vehicle, so you should not worry about money and you should work for it. It should be the other way around.
Yeah, exactly.
So from that point,
Okay. So what? So I understand that startups will mean that you need to put a lot of discipline and you need to have sort of drive to get this going, right? Because you're your own boss and the company is what you make out of it. So what sort of maybe I can say productivity hacks that help you just keep going at it, or what sort of philosophies do you have for work?
I think there are a few things. Even today, my productivity swings a lot. Sometimes I feel very productive and I can achieve a lot without wasting too much time. But other times I see myself wasting a lot of time too, because there is really nobody else monitoring me. It's just my customers who judge me by saying that if I am not creating value for them, they won't purchase. But that thing I will not know until after 6 months. So if I am working today, the result of this will not be visible to me until maybe 2-3 years down the line or 1 year down the line. So there is really nobody monitoring me, and that is a big concern for me sometimes too.
Yeah.
But what I have been doing is I read quite a lot of books. So there I can get some new ideas about how I can manage this. And I also personally set an agenda that I won't be working more than 3-4 hours a day. So this will put a hard barrier on how much I need to cram, and that way I can actually stay focused. Because even if you say a person working from 9 to 6, you can say they're working 9 hours in the office, but that does not really happen, because they would probably have coffee breaks and lunch breaks,
Yeah.
and they will have meetings where they may not play a key role, but they still have to be there. Then there is some email work and a lot of things. Whether you are passionate or not, you still have to do. So if you look at a typical work day in office, you will probably be focused only for 3-4 hours. So
Yeah.
in my home office, I say the same thing. I'm going to do only 3 hours of work, and that's my 3 hours, and 3-4 hours. And within these 3 hours, I need to finish this X number of tasks. So that kind of lets me stay focused. Apart from that, I also practice some ideas. Like I think recently, one of the ideas that I'm trying to follow is Tuesdays I won't be working at all. So Tuesday is my retirement day. It's more so that I can actually make sure that everything that I need to do gets done, and there is no pending task. And also we have about 6 employees now. So it helps that they can do things that I am not really interested in or not good at. For example, I don't know how to maintain our server anymore.
Yeah.
I used to do that, but it has grown out of whatever I know now. So there is somebody else who takes care of it, and I can focus more on working with Excel, creating videos, those kind of things.
Okay. Okay. So, have there been any sort of mentors or people you looked up to? I mean, I know you mentioned Bill Gates was a very ideological guru, right? So, have there been people who've been helping you along this journey?
Yes, there are lots of people who help me, whether I know them face to face or not. As I said, I read quite a lot of books. So, for example, in the last 1-2 years, people who I have been really following their journey and seeing and learning from their example are there is Pat Flynn who maintains a website called Smart Passive Income. You could probably look it up.
Okay.
And then there is Mr. Money Mustache. He runs a website about the frugal living and living a simple life and living really having a kick-ass time while you're doing this. So I follow their websites a lot and learn from their examples. So they would say something about, hey, this is how we are doing this, and I kind of see that and I write right off it. Apart from these, there are quite a few people in the Excel world itself who are running their own websites, and all of these people have been my good friends so far. And I email them when I'm in a trouble or when I need some help, and I kind of learn from them. And we kind of help each other in our business as well as in personal life, so that we can. And there are lots of books like Chris' book on $100 startup. There are just so many interesting stories and powerful examples that you could right away take and copy and apply to your business.
Yeah.
You can see.
Okay. I think my next question is just, what sort of advice would you have for just people who are starting up? Just, I think, sort of learnings that really stood out in the past 3 years.
Mhm.
So yeah, so what sort of learnings would you'd like to share?
The main thing that I would tell anybody who is starting is please start. Do not. It's not all risky.
Yeah.
If you think startup is risky, then you have a wrong idea of what risk really is. Because risk is something that can happen to you, and it is not under your control. So even if you think you have a stable government job or something like that, still you can face a lot of risk. For example, you might get fired, or the whole thing might not get funding next year. A lot of things will happen. So there is really no safe idea when it comes to career, and with a lot of rapid changes happening around the world in terms of how work is and how it is done, there is really no such thing as safety. So if you are thinking like you should start, please do it. It would do yourself a lot of favor. And even if your startup tanks and you try really hard for 2 years and nothing works out, you would end up learning so much more than what you can learn in a day-to-day job. So that's one thing. The second thing is, and if you do start, please put profit as your first priority. There is really nothing wrong with making money. Everybody in the world is doing that. But you should not do wrong things. You should not be greedy, or you should not cheat your customer. Those things you should not do. But there is nothing wrong in saying, hey, I'm going to provide you valuable service and I'm going to charge for it. So do it. Because what happens with a lot of entrepreneurs is they are hesitant to ask for money. They will say, I'm creating this cool service, please click here to try it free. But this may not work out well unless you are probably building something like a Facebook or Google, where service is free, but there is something else that feeds your mouth. Whereas with a smaller startup that focuses on selling something, it makes a lot of sense to say, please pay us. That way you can avoid a lot of people who are looking for free stuff and not ready to pay. So that is also something that you need. And third thing, think like a real business. So if you are getting some customer into your website or something, find out how you can get their details. Get their email address or something. Because otherwise, you are just running a radio station and you are talking, somebody else is listening, but you have no idea who the other person is.
Yeah.
It becomes very hard to reach out to them and provide something of value to them and then get something to collect their email address or something so that it's if somebody follows these simple things and tries to use their common sense, I'm sure they can easily get good success and feel happy about what they're doing.
Idea that you have that you think will be useful for this community?
I think what you're doing is really excellent stuff, and as I said earlier, I follow a lot of sites for my inspiration because having nobody else monitoring me is a very tricky thing, and sometimes I feel really down, and I wonder, whether what I'm doing is really useful to contribute or business or not. So I watch various podcasts and videos where interviews of founders are conducted. I read books so that I can see something and I can learn from their example and correct my path. And what you're doing is excellent. So anybody starting should also have similar mindset. You are on a path to learn and never abandon it. And whether your business succeeds or not, as long as you're learning, your brain stays active and you are adding new material to yourself. As a person, it becomes more valuable, and that is a very good